Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to my quest in World of Tanks to be able to see if I can achieve 10,000 damage for the very first time. If you've been joining me on the channel this year throughout, you will know that it's become a little bit of a meme in my chat, and it's also becoming a little bit of a meme in the YouTube comments down below, so thank you all very much for that. I've managed to do over 9,000 but less than 10,000 damage in many tanks this year. The 60 TP, the M60, the Jagdpanzer E100, the Object 140, I think also the T22 medium and also the T110E4. It's been a pretty good year for big damage games, but none that have quite managed to hit that magical 5-figure mark. Today we're going to find out whether the T110E3 is going to be the first tank that will enable me to be able to do so. So let's talk about it. The T110E3, possibly the best frontal tank destroyer in the game, at least until the Minotauro came into play. Now, this game is from the previous patch, so vehicles on the enemy team like the Kranvang are still, and the Emil-2 also still in a very dangerous position, so we're going to have to watch out for them. But the T110E3 is the perfect kind of tank for dealing with vehicles like that, because it has a big old 155mm caliber gun with 375mm of APCR pen that will challenge even the turret of a vehicle like the Emil-2. And it's probably got, I don't know, maybe a 1 in 3 chance of being able to go through the Kranvang. It's definitely not going to be as good as the 420mm of penetration that the Jagdpanzer E100 has, but really, when you play this vehicle, what you have to do is make use of the ammunition. It's a bit like a T110E4, even if you've seen my T110E4 masterclass video. And that is that if it's outside of the ammo on this vehicle, it's basically kind of just like a heavy, really. Although this one, unlike the T110E4, actually packs significantly better damage per minute. Now, I am running vents with a durability device, and I'm using a turbo on this tank. That gives me the mobility. But definitely one thing that you'll see that I lack inside this game will be raw damage per minute. But the way that I've always thought about the T110E3 is it's not about trying to get multiple rounds against your opponent, but more about trying to survive to be able to deal those blows. Now, it isn't like a Jagdpanzer E100. I do have a second build with a gun rammer on this vehicle, but I was just so concerned about using this position that I'd rather have the durability device than the gun rammer on this tank. Although I guess you could take both and drop vents, but that also would be impacting your accuracy, which is very important on this vehicle. I'm using a position here which I absolutely love when I'm playing Assault on the Steppes map. This rock, it looks very innocent, but I can tell you this rock hides the lower plate of a T110E3 and a lot of other tanks with absolute perfection. And so I'm totally turning it around on the enemy team here because of my knowledge of the terrain. And they're thinking like, what? Never seen anyone sit there before. I've used this position to have multiple giant games on this map, and you can do this with pretty much everything that has a weakness of its lower plate. You could do this in a Minotauro, for example, which would be absolutely outrageous. And you can even do it in a Kranvang as well, although you want to be a little bit more careful, because unlike the T110E3, the Kranvang kind of has a bit of more of a weakness on the side. Specifically if it's turning its turret to the left and the right, whereas the T110E3 doesn't actually turn its turret, it just turns its gun and just plant the bus in front of your opponent. And just like that, with a liberal application of the 375mm of penetration these premium rounds have, we've managed to bludgeon our way through the enemy team, only taking one shot. And that was because I wanted to sacrifice, well, I didn't want to sacrifice, but I felt like I had to sacrifice a few hit points to be able to get rid of the Object 140. Because as soon as the Object 140 was gone, then I could use this position. However, if the Object 140 was alive, he could have been able to shoot me in the side, and then I wouldn't have been able to sit in that awesome position and start to carve my way through the enemy team. Talk about carving my way through the enemy team. We are already up to 5,000 damage just over 4 minutes into this game. And unfortunately for me, an APCR round actually managed to go through the top of my tank, which is a weird thing on this vehicle. Because unlike the T110E4, the top isn't really a weak point unless it's getting shot by tier 10 tank destroyer premium rounds. And I'm not talking about the fake premium rounds like on the Minotauro, I'm talking about premium rounds like on the E4, the E3, or the Jagdpanzer E100, or something like the Foch 155, aka ones that have got 375 pen plus. So the Kranvang misses one shell. I'm thinking, shall I go for the 111G? But no, seeing how that tank just lost more of the hit points, I knew that the Mouse or the Emil-2 was going to finish them off. And it's about staying on target. Here we can see the benefits of a turbo, getting me into position quickly to be able to put a round into the back of the Kranvang. They get set on fire, but unfortunately he's using an automatic fire extinguisher, which means that I still need another 3,500 damage if I want to reach that 10k mark. But with still 14,000 hit points on the enemy team, I have to admit, I was getting a little bit excited at this point, thinking, this is it, this is the dream. As long as everything just keeps going my way, we should still have a chance of being able to mop up the enemy team. Although, that's a problem in itself. Once your team has managed to get to this stage where they're outnumbering the enemy team, it starts to become a little bit frantic and frenetic. And you've got to make sure that you keep the ball rolling and you keep that aggression high. But when you've only got 1,200 hit points and there are lots of very dangerous TDs on the enemy team, you also don't want to get overconfident. So our intuition switch here to a premium round just to make sure. And wow, that's a big roll. 821. Now we need about 2,618. Well, exactly 2,618 damage to be able to get the big 10k. And I'm just hoping that this is going to be my one. Okay, great. 521. Not a full health tank. Don't really want to be finishing off these low health vehicles here. We still need to penetrate at least 3 shells on full health tanks without low rolling if we want to do this. But ooh, I just lost all my hit points. And I low rolled that shell as well, which now means that if we get 50-50 roll, we roll average and we don't continue to low roll, we only need 2 more shots. That 705 unfortunately loses their hit points, and so you can immediately see I'm not interested in shooting that tank anymore. I'm looking for the IS-32. Here we go. Oh, look at that. All green pretty much on the cheeks. Easy. Oh, no. Easy peasy, he says. That was an absolute joke of a bounce, ladies and gents, boys and girls. Go onto the Awesome Tanks GG website. Put up an IS-32, shoot it with 375mm of pen, and you tell me how likely that is to be able to bounce, and I can tell you it is not very likely to bounce at all. I think that was like a 1 in 10 or less chance of a ricochet, but it did ricochet. Okay, second shell, all green, race the shot, and you can tell that I am getting tilted now. I should have probably exposed more of my vehicle, but again, I've got to be careful. There's a 704 above me. The IS-32 could get my lower plate, although he bounces off my lower plate there. And even though we managed to get the 194, that means that we're going to have to get at least 2 shots in to 2 full health vehicles here in the form of the 140 and the 704. You'll also see that my bloodlust is raining over into the chat with excitement here. All caps. Kill all. I asked the T-30 to help me here. And then I say, please no cap. Please. Come on, there's got to be a chance. Unfortunately, the Object 140 is not full health. I get pushed from behind by an ST-1, which, look, it wasn't completely his fault. I did just basically brake check him. But yeah, my frustration was palpable. I can feel it even now. It's been a few weeks since this game. And, oh, dude. Oh, it's still so close. Maybe if I get a big shot into the 704 and turn around for the 140, I might still be able to do this. But oh dear, no, my team just shoot him in time, which means that I'm only 9,000 damage now in this 9-minute game and 5 kills. And the T-30 continues to cap. No way. I mean, if I'd ammo-racked the Object 140, it might have happened. Well, it wouldn't, because the 430 managed to finish them off. But, oh, come on, World of Tanks. Can you believe those ricochets at the end of this game? And, well, look, doing 9,000 damage in a T110E3 is still a great round. Why did we have to bounce off so much against the IS-32 in that scenario? And I add another vehicle to the tally, about 6 or 7 or possibly even 8 vehicles, different vehicles this year, where Uncle QuickyBaby has managed to deal over 9,000, but not quite the 10k. So an ace tanker here for 1,409 base experience and a high caliber, understandably, for dealing 9,094 damage to the enemy team. A steel wall for ricocheting 4,500 damage. That wonderful position, using the rock to be able to hide my lower plate, enabled us to ricochet enough damage to destroy our vehicle 2 times over, and let's not look at that. I actually ended up losing 2,000 credits even with a premium account, although I was resupplying a consumable at full price. So, oof sir, once again, I fail at the final hurdle with a couple of ricochets. And do you know what? I should probably actually show you how unlikely it was that we were going to bounce off the IS-3-2 turret from that position. All I had to do was to hit all of here, but I guess my shell deviated and went slightly towards the left. It definitely didn't go as far as that. Maybe the second shell did. Oh, that's definitely a bit of spicy frustration. And I think that if I hadn't ricocheted that shot, I would have probably been able to get into position to get the 704 or the 140 a lot more comfortably. Anyway, I hope it's all entertaining for you, and and you'll still continue with me on this quest in World of Tanks to see if we can manage to hit 10k. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, later on there's going to be the World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase live with the AMX 13105, which is currently top of the tree. So if you've ever wanted to see me play up towards the most dangerous light tank in the game, which is the 13105, when it comes to having to deal damage and not just spot for itself, then come along. I'll show you everything there is to know about the French tracked light tanks, and so you can decide whether they're worth pursuing this month. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.